Good afternoon. This is the Oklahoma County Board of Adjustment for March 28th, 2017.
Mr. Gammon, will you call the roll, please?
Members of the Oklahoma County Board of Adjustment is Mr. Bill Hogue.
Present.
Mr. Jack Query.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay, a quorum is present. The Oklahoma County Board of Adjustment is in session. Proper notice has been given as required by statute. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting, which occurred on February 21st, 2017. Has everyone received a copy of the minutes, and are there any corrections to be made to the minutes?
I received a copy. I didn't see any corrections. Make a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
Okay, Mr. Hogue has moved that the minutes be approved as printed, and I second that motion. Mr. Gammon, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hogue.
Yes.
Mr. Query.
Yes. Okay, the minutes of February 21st, 2017 stand approved as submitted. The next item on the agenda is the discussion and possible action for approval or denial of variance VA 2017-02. The application of Civil Design and Survey Company of Oklahoma. Is someone present to speak on behalf of the application? Okay. Before you come forward, sir, I would like to ask a question regarding jurisdiction, and so I would like a little clarification. As I understand the statutes, in order to be able to appeal to the Board of Adjustment, you have got to be aggrieved either by a county official, board, commission, a denial or something of that sort in order before you can take an appeal to the Board of Adjustment. In this particular case, I have examined the application, and it doesn't look to me like there has been any denial. The only thing that I can see is that the applicant is wanting to an exception or a variance to the county zoning regulation. Is that not correct?
No.
Subdivision regulations.
His application, as far as I can tell, is not a zoning related issue. It's a subdivision regulation. And I share the same concern. I think that appeals to the County Board of Adjustment are only appeals regarding the county zoning regulations, and the roads are under the subdivision regulations.
But has there been a denial or something in this particular case that you are appealing some ruling? Or
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know what.
I mean, can a person come forward and appeal to the board without having them denied some sort of relief?
No.
And that's the way I've looked at the statutes, and it, I may not be interpreting correctly, but it says appeals to the Oklahoma County Board of Adjustment may be taken by any person aggrieved or by a public officer, department, board, or bureau affected by a decision of the county engineer in administering the county zoning regulations. And then it cites the statutes. And so before we take any testimony on the application, I thought, well, maybe we need to explore this jurisdiction thing. I have a question in my mind, and I didn't want to proceed unless, you know.
I had the same question. I looked at the same statute you did, which is 868.18. Notice
Right.
that it was the appeal is from someone who's administering zoning regulations, I pull that section 868.8, and that statute states that the County Planning Commission adopts rules and regulations for various things, including the proper arrangement of streets or other highways, and that said regulations may include provisions as to the extent to which streets or other highways shall be graded and improved. So, it appears to me that the Planning Commission has the jurisdiction over the road issue.
That's
It
kind
being
of
a
the way I
subdivision.
felt about it too. I really felt that it's questionable as to whether the Board of Adjustment even has jurisdiction in this, and I thought before we waste anybody's time going forward on this, that maybe we ought to have that clarification as to see exactly where we are on that, so,
Yeah, if I may, say, it partially, I would be to blame for that, because I had assumed, and you know what assume does,
yeah.
That anybody that was against any subdivision regulation, zoning regulation, whatever, rule, that they could come to the Board of Adjustment. And, evidently, that's incorrect.
The statute does say that, anybody aggrieved by, any decision of the county engineer in administering the county zoning regulations. And, Gretchen, how do you think, what's your recommendation as to how the board proceeds?
I don't think that this board has jurisdiction over subdivision regulations. I think the board's limited to zoning issues.
And what would be your recommendation as to the proper way to proceed then to?
For this board? You just would have to,
I don't think we can even deny it. I think it can move forward.
you would just say, make a motion, whether or not just to strike it for lack of jurisdiction.
Okay, sorry about that for everybody, but that was my initial,
Mhm.
pardon me, sir.
No.
Would you like to come forward and identify yourself for the record?
Good afternoon, Jason Dunn. I actually own one of the properties that's sort of south of the improved road.
What was your
easement.
name?
Jason Dunn, D-U-N-N.
Okay.
And actually, my only question to sort of facilitate things for the applicant might be, if I didn't know, and I was inquiring of Gretchen if there was a way for this board to refer it to the Planning Commission. But my bet is from her reaction that probably the applicant just needs to file something with the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission's probably going to have to make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, and then the County Commissioners would have to vote on the proposed action. Is that right?
I think that's likely. I wasn't approached prior to this,
Sure.
Jason, so,
No, that's fine with me. I'm actually, we've discussed some of these issues with Mr. Turner, because I actually represent not only my homeowner, but the sort of floor south of the proposed development. We've started down the road of forming our own HOA, and obviously we've got interests that we are sort of affected by here, and we're working with Mr. Turner. So I'm just trying to sort of figure out what I think the lay of the land might be for them in terms of moving forward.
The closest analogy would be if you were in the courtroom
Mm-hmm.
and your lawsuit was stricken for lack of subject matter
Sure.
jurisdiction, you wouldn't be referred anywhere.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So probably that's what they need. They need to just file something with the Planning Commission in terms of
My
whatever.
interpretation then that's the proper procedure.
Okay, well-
Because I really feel like it's a waste of time, and this board cannot, I don't think, properly hear it.
Well, and I don't mean to speak for the applicant or the
Right,
board. I was
right.
merely, we've had some experience in this with the Planning Commission, so I was just trying to help out, see if there might be a more efficient way to do this, but that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anybody else like to address the board? Identify yourself for the record, sir.
Mark Ritchie with Civil Design and Survey of
Okay.
Oklahoma, here on behalf of the applicant. Gretchen, would it help if we just withdrew the application here in the minutes?
I can't provide you legal advice, I'm sorry. Your decision, what you wanna do.
We choose to request to withdraw the application, and we'll pursue our project through different
So
avenues.
you're formally requesting to withdraw your application then?
Yes,
Is
to
that
be
correct,
of,
sir?
to be of assistance to you to resolve this meeting, so we
Okay.
all go home.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay.
But then, I can make a motion to accept his withdrawal. I move we accept, Mr. Ritchie's withdrawal of this application.
Okay, it's been moved by, Mr. Hoag that, the board accept Mr. Mark Ritchie's, withdrawal of the application for variance. And, I second that motion. Mr. Gammon, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hoag,
Yes?
Mr. Query.
Yes. Okay. Withdrawal has been accepted by the board. The next item on the agenda is any new business. Is there any new business that needs to be brought before the board?
I think we got notice of April 11th.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a new business.
Yeah. Right, April 11th.
Just be aware of that.
Any other new business?
I have none.
Okay. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn.
Okay, Mr. Hoag has moved that the board adjourn. I second that motion. And Ms. Gammon, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hoag,
Yes?
Mr. Query.
Yes, the board stands adjourned. Sorry about that.